If you are a B2B marketer or business owner and increasing your leads this year is a huge priority for you, this is going to be a perfect webinar for you. In this webinar, we're going to be covering our top 11 favorite tools that we use to boost leads for ourselves and for our clients. And I guarantee you there's going to be at least one in here that you've never heard of, and maybe that's just going to be the difference maker this year. The webinar is about 40-50 minutes long, and it's hosted by me, yours truly, along with Cassidy, our SEO lead here at Steel Croissant, and she is so friggin' smart. If you have any questions at all, drop them in those comments below, and we'll make sure to reach out to you. And be sure to stick around to the end because there are a few tools towards the end that are really, really good. And if the pace is going a little too slow for you, don't forget you can change the playback speed down here in the bottom. All right, enough talking. Here goes the webinar. And today we're going to be leveraging AI to elevate your SEO and supercharge your lead generation. What we're going to be talking about is creating high value content to attract more leads and then hopefully close more deals. A quick bit about myself. I am the Chief Strategy Officer at Steel Croissant. My email is very simple. It's just matt@steelcroissant. And I've been in marketing for over 10 years, which was weird to say, but when I first got started, there was no Facebook. So I started in print, which makes me feel old. And I'm joined today by Cassidy. I'm in Denver at the moment. I lived in Chicago the last 10 years. I'm joined by Cassidy today, who's in Spain, and I'll let her share a little bit about herself as well.
Yeah, so my name is Cassidy. I'm the SEO lead at Steel Croissant. So I work with our clients to create SEO strategies and marketing strategies. I've been with Steel Croissant for almost 2 years now. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I'm living in Madrid, Spain right now. And the tools we're going to show you today, I use every single day. So I'm excited to show you how I use them.
All right. So getting into the mix, we're going to go through our top 11 tools today, and I can guarantee you there's going to be at least one, probably two you have never heard of, mostly because we are growth hackers. I don't know if that's a cool term or not, but we live in the fringes of the internet where people are talking about new tools that have just come out. So we're always leveraging and testing these. Now, we always test them on our own site first to make sure that we think that they are valuable and that they are working before doing any client sites or before we recommend it. So everything that we're going to be talking about today, there's probably going to be some new tools you haven't heard of, but essentially in this process, what we're going to do is show you how we leverage them and what each tool and step is going to do in helping achieve these types of results. It's going to be very foundational. So every step and every tool is going to lead into the next one. So it's best to do this in sequential order, as well as, like I mentioned, have some notes open so that way when you come back to this recording, you can do it side by side as we go throughout the process. And one of the main reasons why we are talking about creating high value content and SEO-rich content is going to be because we believe in creating content that is going to compound and add value over time. I think this graph illustrates it very well. And we're not saying that PPC and ads don't work. We just know that there are diminishing returns that come with those. And so we choose to invest our time, our energy, and our resources into content that is going to have a longer lifespan and hopefully compound over time. We're going to be covering these top 3 categories today. The fourth one we are probably going to do for another webinar, but we're going to talk you through the entire strategy development, the content creation, and the optimization in these steps. And tool number 1 is one that you should know, and if you haven't, you should definitely check it out, is going to be ChatGPT. Again, all of these are going to be going in sequential order, so please do your best to kind of follow along as we go. And when choosing for today's webinar, we had a few options to go with. We ended up choosing Zoom, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I doubt this was your first time using it, but there were a few alternatives out there. One of them is Riverside. And so that's what we're going to be using today as an example, which is essentially if we worked at Riverside or if they were one of our clients, how would we knock off Zoom? How would we steal their market share? Looking at, the market size, it's pretty huge. So we thought this would be a good opportunity as hopefully everybody today is familiar with Zoom. And we're going to be talking about Riverside and how we would attack and how we would capture more leads, more sales throughout this process. So here's kind of a head-to-head of the two if you have not seen them, and we'll jump right into the actual meat of the presentation. This right here is a prompt that you can go ahead and copy and paste into ChatGPT. What we're going to be doing here is asking ChatGPT to get to know us. The first step in this entire process of leveraging AI to be a good assistant with us is making sure it knows who we are. So start a new thread with ChatGPT, copy this prompt in here, use your website URL. The new ChatGPT update is much, much better at crawling URLs. So this is going to be a great chance for it to ask you the questions it needs to better understand you. When I use this prompt in ChatGPT, here are the questions it came back with. Again, don't spend too much time on this. The whole goal of leveraging AI is to be as efficient as possible. So answer these questions and then put back your answers, probably time box that at about 10 minutes. And then again, put links to your blog, put links to your case studies or anything else to help reference who you are, to help ChatGPT better understand who you are. Now, what I did was I gave it a few questions, and then here is everything that it came back. It may be hard to zoom into this at the moment, but that's where if you pause, come back to it, you should be able to see. But essentially, it gave us amazing things to build off of. It talks about how we can differentiate ourselves. It's how we can create targeted content, what our long tail SEO strategy can look like, leveraging our technical SEO improvements, our UX. Now it knows who we are, who's our top competitor, and how we're going to win. Now, this is just a jumping off point for us. So then the next point is going to say, okay, now that you know who we are, can you please help us create buyer personas? Now, we're going to be going rather fast through this entire presentation. So if any of these things you're not too sure of, definitely save that as a question for later. Ping us if you need to, or check out our blog where we have a lot of content about this. This, again, is a copy and paste prompt that you can put into ChatGPT to help develop buyer personas. For us to create targeted SEO-rich content, we have to know who we're talking to, and this is a prompt that's going to help us uncover what those potential audience members are. And the results it gave back were pretty awesome. One would be a podcaster trying to record remote video and audio. One is going to be our audience, right? Probably everybody on this call, the corporate marketing professional. And as you can see, it talks about what do we do for our online behavior? What are our challenges and pain points? What are our goals and aspirations? And we're going to use this to inform what our content strategy can look like. As we start creating content, having this in mind is going to help us create more tailored content too, right? You wouldn't just start talking to the public. You'd probably want to know a little bit about your audience. And so this is going to help inform what some of these audience members are going to look like. And the last one is the content creator influencer, which maybe some of you fall into as well. And so here, again, these are going to be our three personas that we're going to use to build off of. The next part of this is using our content strategy. And this is a copy and paste prompt that you can go in. And what we're going to ask it to do is create pillar pages and topic clusters. Don't have to understand this totally now. Cassidy's going to touch on that in a little bit. But again, this is kind of just to get the juices flowing. This is step one. And the goal is to use one of the most powerful tools out there to help us going in the right direction. This is the second half of that prompt. So you can go ahead, copy and paste that in. And as long as you're in the same ChatGPT thread, it should all be able to reference whatever content is above it to make sure that it's having, a very quality conversation with you. Now, this is a big warning here. ChatGPT is very powerful, but it is not totally smart. And you can't take this content and put it into your blog. If you have worked on ChatGPT before, or if you're going to try this out for the first time, you will see that the blog post and content it kicks back to you is not that great. It sounds a little robotic. It uses words that we just don't use. Unlock, unleash, dive, dig, deep, all these weird words. Nobody talks like that. And so if you are reading this kind of content as a human, we know that it's going to be written by AI. Now, Google says that you can use AI content on your site and it won't penalize you for it. And that is true. But bad content that seems like it's written by a robot, that's going to be a bad user experience. So if we get to your site and we see these bland keywords and it's repetitive and it's not adding value, there's no human element to it, we're going to bounce, meaning we're going to exit that site very quickly. And Google does notice that. So if they say that I got to this blog post and I left after 10 seconds, they're going to say that was a bad user experience. Why would we recommend that website to anybody else? But if I got to your blog post and I stayed there for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, that's good quality content. And that's what we're going to be working to create. And again, everything that we talked about with ChatGPT here is just a springboard. What we want to do is, I'll jump into that a little bit more. So this is what it came back to. Here are our pillar pages. High quality virtual recording solutions. That's a great one. Effective online engagement strategies. Super cool. Technology and trends in digital media. Now, again, you don't have to understand how these pillar pages and topic clusters work at the moment. The goal here is just to create something, right? We are going to be moving everything into a document, a spreadsheet, something like that. So the goal here is to get some meat that we can go off of and build our understanding from. It also gave us some target keywords that we want to go for. This is all great. This is not researched, backed, and validated yet. So this is where this is only the first step in having us create some of this. So the second tool or the second step we're going to do is the non-tool, which is your brain, your conversations, your coworkers, everything you already know about your customers and what they like and don't like so far. So this is where you're going to have a good checkpoint. So hopefully ChatGPT gave you a lot to build off of. If you ask your sales or your customer support team, hey, what blog post could I create next? You may be met with some blank stares. So the goal is to give them something to sink their teeth into, to build off of, give them an idea of what this can look like. So the next part of this process is going to be some human power. It's going to be involving others on your marketing team, others on your sales team, and your customer support team, because all of them have key nuggets of information that they can use to help unlock new potential with potential audience members. Customer service and sales, they know stuff about the audience that marketing does not. So the goal is to think about how can we lighten the load with your other departments, right? The website and your content it's meant to attract, educate, and qualify leads throughout this process. So that's what we're going to ask them a few questions about. What are their top 10 questions? What do they get asked most often? What is a common question they're asking that we think a blog post, a landing page, a case study, a video? What's something that we could put out into the world to help address that person's question, but also probably serve a lot of people who aren't asking that question and then bouncing? So a great thing to do here is go ahead and ask them to call a meeting and say, hey, what are some areas of the website that you think we could improve? Is that adding more content? Is that adding more blog posts? Maybe frequently asked questions. Do we have any recent wins that we want to highlight to build more trust? Is there a good customer success story that we could turn into a case study or some type of lead magnet where now people who are on the fence, they're thinking about buying from us, but they aren't sure, what's something we could create that could build a little bit of trust with them? And if you're still unsure after all of this, a great way to get started is just to ask some of your customers, like, hey, if we're going to create a blog post about this, what would you want to see? What questions should we be answering? Do you think that's a good idea? That's going to get you a lot of answers from your potential audience. And now you can build that right in. Now you know that when you publish this content, your audience is going to be ready for it and excited to hear about it. And so I'll pass it to Cassidy to talk through our next tool.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Screaming Frog. So the Screaming Frog SEO Spider is a website crawler that helps you improve on-site SEO performance. Initially, when I first start working on a project, I like to run an audit of the site. I like to break down the site architecture and pretty much understand it as best I can. And Screaming Frog is great for that. So with the free version, you can crawl up to 500 pages on a website. And with that, you can get a pretty good picture of the site. So you can uncover things like broken links. You can analyze page titles and metadata. You can see if any pages on your site aren't indexable. You can audit redirects on your site. You can discover duplicate content. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can see when you audit the site. So this is what an actual audit looks like. I would switch over to the tool and actually show you like how to do it, but it takes a little bit of time to crawl 500 pages. And so for time's sake, we aren't going to do that today. But to start, as you can see up here where I put the Riverside URL in, you just put the URL in and click start. Let's say you want to see visualizations of the site. You can just click on the tab visualizations and you can actually see a breakdown of the URL architecture of your site. So with Screaming Frog, you can do very basic SEO techniques and marketing tasks or really complex tasks. But I think it's a great auditing tool that you should be aware of and that you should start your content strategy with. the next tool I'm going to show you is SEM Rush, and we're actually going to dive into this tool and I'll play around with it and show you how to use it. But SEM Rush is the online visibility management and content marketing platform. So this is the tool that I use every single day for keyword research for our clients to understand things like search volume and keyword difficulty, as well as to run audits for my clients, to investigate website health, and to see domain authority. And so that's what I'm going to show you guys today at a really high level. So I'm going to switch screens right now. Sorry, it's going to take me a second. Okay, here we go. Okay. So we're just going to keep going with this Riverside example. So I'm going to copy the URL here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to SEMrush and I'm going to review an overview of the data, an overview of the site. So I just type in the domain and I get my information here. So in the top left-hand corner, you're going to see the authority score. So an authority score is just a measurement that's used with AI and machine learning to measure a domain's authority, and it's based on 3 different things. So that's link power, so the quality and quantity of backlinks, organic traffic, so the estimated monthly traffic of organic search traffic, and then spam factors. So if you have any spammy or weird looking backlinks. So this site has an authority score of a 56, which is pretty good. I would say an okay score is between a 30 and a 40. A good score is between a 40 and a 50, and then anything above 50 is great. And this is on a scale from 1 to 100. Here you can see the organic search traffic, and then here you can see the number of backlinks. So the authority score for this site is so high because they have a ton of quality backlinks. But then we can scroll down and we can see the top organic keywords. I'm going to click into that in a second, but first I just want to show you the rest of the overview of the site. I'll make this a little bigger. Okay, so here you can see the breakdown of keywords by intent. So search intent is just a goal a user has when they're searching online. So that intent is either going to be informational, navigational, commercial, transactional. Informational, you're usually at the awareness stage, so you want some more information. Navigational, you know where you're headed. So you would look up something like, or an example of a search would be like Barnes & Noble books. You have a page you want to go to. The next would be commercial, and then transactional, you want to buy. And then if we keep scrolling down here, we can see the competitive positioning map. So right here is our website, Riverside FM. And then here, the closest competitor that Google sees is Descript.com. So basically, these 2 sites are targeting the most similar keywords. So I'm going to show you an example of how you can look into some of the keyword gaps to get ideas for keywords in a second. But first, we're going to look at some of the top organic keywords. So the first thing I like to do when I'm creating a content strategy is just see, okay, what are we working with? Like, what are we ranking for now? So this site is ranking for a lot of keywords. So I'm going to look for the keywords in the top 10 positions. And then I see they're already ranking for a lot of branded keywords. So I'm going to exclude any keywords containing the word Riverside. And then here we can see some of the keywords that they're ranking for in the top 10 positions. So like best Joe Rogan podcasts, record on iPhone. So here on the left-hand side, you see the keyword. Here you see the search intent. Here you see the keyword volume, so how many searches there are a month for this search term. And then here you see the keyword difficulty. So these colors range from dark green to dark red. Dark green being easy to rank for, and dark red being very difficult. As you can see, this site is ranking for a lot of keywords that are marked difficult. And the reason they're ranking for them is probably because they have such a high authority score and they're creating a lot of quality content And that's allowing them to rank in the top 10 positions. But I wanted to show you now the keyword gap that I mentioned earlier before. So let's say you have a competitor like this one that we saw they have in the competitive positioning map, and you want to see what keywords your competitor is targeting and what they're ranking for. Well, then you can use this tool and you can see some of the overlapping keywords here, and then you can scroll down and actually see the shared keywords you have, maybe missing keywords that they're ranking for and you're not, that you want to target. You can also see some untapped keywords, so keywords that you could both potentially be targeting, but neither of you are quite yet. So typically when I come to SEMrush, as Matt touched on, you would use your own brain power first. So you would come up with your own keywords first. I actually made a little list for us that I'm going to paste in here to just show you guys an example. But at this point, I would have already put myself in the shoes of my buyer personas. I would have already talked with, for example, my sales teams. I would have looked into, like I just did, what competitors are ranking for, and I would come up with a list. Then I would come to SEMrush to see which keywords in that list I actually have potential for ranking for. So I would go to keyword overview, and I'm going to paste this mini list here. Whoops, the number's pasted too. Okay, and then I would press search. So now I can see, as I showed you, the keyword, the intent, the volume, and the keyword difficulty. So some of these are actually pretty easy to rank for, like this one. Why do podcasters wear headphones? We can see that's pretty easy to rank for. So I would recommend that we target that long tail keyword. So I would recommend we either create a blog post on this if it's really important to us. And if it's not as important, maybe I would look at some of the other content we've already created, and I would try to fit this section into a blog, or maybe I would write an FAQ. I would add an FAQ on one of my other blogs or other pieces of content. Let's say that Riverside really wants to target Zoom alternative because we know that's a competitor. And we know typically I wouldn't recommend with like small businesses that you cover a keyword that's difficult to rank for. But let's say we're already ranking for other keywords that contain the word Zoom. So we know there's potential, and we know we have a really strong authority score. So there's definitely potential. So then I would click on this keyword and I would investigate a little bit more. I would look into some of the questions people are asking that include the keyword Zoom alternative, and maybe I would include that in my outline. I would also scroll down to the bottom and I can see, okay, what are the top 10 sites that are ranking for Zoom alternative? And what are they doing that I could potentially do, or what are they not doing that I think I should do? And so, yeah, that's kind of how I would use this tool at the early stages to do my keyword research. This is at a very high level, but I hope that helped. And so now we're going to move back to the presentation, and I'm going to show you guys some other tools that I work with. Oops. Okay. So here we have Google Sheets or Excel. While conducting your keyword research, I would export relevant data and take notes in a Google Sheet or on an Excel sheet. This practice just helps you refine your keyword selection and assign them to specific pages on your website, landing pages, and blog posts as needed. So I just pasted a little example here of kind of the notes I take while I'm working with SEMrush. Now, the next tool I want to show you is Miro. So this is when I actually apply all of that keyword research that I did with SEMrush. So Miro is a visual workspace where teams manage projects and design products. The tool comes in handy for me when I'm creating, organizing, and then presenting the content strategies to the clients. Now, I don't know if you've probably seen some variation of this diagram right here. but I want to explain it to you a little bit before I show you my Miro board. Otherwise, it might be a little bit confusing. But as you can see in the key, in the circles, we have the pillar pages. The pillar pages serve as the main hub or like the table of contents for a specific topic. So for a B2B business, a pillar page could be like a product page or a where to buy page or a find a dealer page near me. So let's say we're a trailer company and we sell different types of trailers. So my pillar page could be like a forklift trailer or a flatbed trailer. It could actually be that product page. Then around it, we have the content clusters. So content clusters are groups of related content pieces that revolve around that central topic or that pillar page. So that could be different things like case studies, blog articles. It could also be landing pages. And these pieces of content always link back to the pillar page and then vice versa. And this organization just helps search engines understand the depth and the breadth of your expertise on a particular subject. So let's see it in practice. So when I make a content strategy with Miro, I typically show the client a diagram like the one below, and then I replace that placeholder content with real topics, real subtopics, and then content pieces. So you can see up here in the blue, I have the topics, the subtopics, and then the content ideas, so the actual content pieces. This is a great way to organize your content because what you see here is what your site architecture will actually look like. So by creating this board, I'm making an organized site structure that my developers are going to like and Google's going to like as well because it's super SEO friendly. And then the little lines represent interlinks, and that was the same on this diagram because you're always linking between the pages. So why is Miro great for content strategy? For one, it's great for visual collaboration because Miro provides, it's like a visual canvas. So it allows me to collaborate with my teams and with my clients as well. It's great for centralized planning. So Miro allows you to centralize all your content strategy and like your organization into a single platform. And then there's just a lot of flexibility. Miro's flexible framework allows you to adapt your content strategy as needed. You can really easily make updates, incorporate feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So now that we've planned out our content, I want to show you how to actually create content. And so I'm going to show you guys Surfer SEO. So we use Surfer SEO to research, write, optimize, and generate SEO articles. And it's super quick. Again, a lot of editing goes into that, and I'm going to explain this, but this is kind of where we get the foundation of our pieces, or at least our outlines. So now I'm going to move to Surfer SEO. Share screen. Okay. Okay. And here I also already created this content piece before the call just because it takes a little bit of time to load. But remember earlier in the presentation, I said, since we're sticking with this Riverside example, I want to target the keyword Zoom alternative. So I said, I want to create an article called Riverside FM as a Zoom alternative, which one to choose. So to create this piece, I would just type in the keyword that I want to rank for, which was Zoom alternative, and then I would click Write with AI. Then I am provided an outline, which I can edit. Now, let's say on SEM Rush, I found specific questions that were easy to target that I want to include in my outline. You can edit the outline as you wish. I would put some of those questions as maybe H2 or H3 titles, and then I would just click Write with AI. And then this is what you get here. So you can see the different keywords being targeted. If I scroll up, I can see the content score, the number of words, et cetera, et cetera. So now at this point, I would copy and paste this article, and I would move from here back to Google Docs to get to editing. So now we're going to go back to the presentation. And I just want to add that in the editing stage, I would always follow SEO best practices. Google does not currently penalize for creating content with AI, but it does always prioritize fresh and relevant content. So the first thing I would do is go in, fact check all of the content, and then I would make it my own. I would also go ahead and add external and internal links. And then I would write the optimized meta descriptions and title tags. And I would add my own visuals and photos, which is what Matt is going to touch on right now.
Awesome. And the next tool is Canva, which if you have not heard of, it is one of the best tools out there. I am consistently impressed with how high quality it is. The other day, a friend of mine was asking if I could edit one of their Photoshop files, and that is a subscription I have not renewed in many years. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that Canva can now actually edit a lot of these more robust files that previously you weren't able to unless you were a pro designer subscribing to all of these expensive services. So I won't spend too much time here on Canva, but because there are so many great tutorials out there, but I will show you just a small thing that I really like to do to make sure that I'm creating on-brand, consistent imagery as often as possible. So here, what we have is our newsletter template. So when we send out our email newsletters, here are what all of them look like at once. And this is over the course of like 2 years we've been doing our newsletter. So what I do is I always duplicate it. I go to this new page. And then what I do, a little hack for you, is search for an icon that you want to use. One that we really enjoy, let's see if I can find it, perfect, is this guy. And so once it's in here, now if you need for blog graphics, for your website graphics, for anything, the goal is to create a consistent look across the board. So one thing that you can do here is when you click these 3 dots, you can go in here and you can click on the author that created that icon. Now, or that graphic element. Now you have a full library of things that you can pull from, and you'll always be matching that style. So yeah, if I typed in computer, now we have all of these other assets. So a good thing to do is screenshot this, copy and paste, have this here so that you can always go ahead and make sure that you're using graphics from the same family. The next tool that I will share with you is going to be Slides to Go. So sometimes, whether you're creating social media graphics, whether you're creating graphics for your blog or for your website, maybe Canva isn't going to be great for you because it's not approved by your IT department, or maybe you're looking for something a little bit different. Or maybe you want to create that lead men, that case study, that ebook, that white paper, and you want to use something different than Canva. A great tool to use here is Slides to Go, and I highly recommend this tool. It is one of my favorites, especially because of how well it formats for your PowerPoint or your Google Slides. So sometimes Canva can be a little tough to be collaborative with. If you would rather collaborate over Google Slides or PowerPoint, this is going to be a great tool for you. And I'll kind of show you what this looks like as well. So this is this is not the home page. Here goes the home page. And you can kind of type in anything. You can search for a template and you just kind of go from here and find one that works for you. I typed in business and this is what it gave me. There are so many things to go from. You'll notice that all of these are free unless they have a little crown. That's where you can upgrade to the paid version. But here is one that I thought was pretty cool. And if you click on this, you'll see you have different color options as you go. And when you click into this, it says 51 slides. That means there are 51 opportunities here for a custom slide that you can create. And all you have to do is download this template and you pick Google Slides or PowerPoint, and now it's already formatted for you right there. If you scroll to the very end of the document, I think right here, yeah, I'm on slide 60. At the very end, it also provides a great tutorial for you. If you have any questions, who to reach out to. If you need any additional graphs, that's how you use them. If you want to find where they're sourcing their photos, as well as instructions on how to use these things. So if you want to make sure that your fonts are always matching, your colors are always matching, if you need additional icons, if you need additional graphic elements, this is a really great way to make sure that whatever presentation you're going with, you have the flexibility to customize it and brand it, whether you change the colors, the fonts, if you need new graphics. If one of their 50 slide templates doesn't work for you and you need to customize it beyond that, this is going to be an opportunity for you to have that type of freedom. And that's where creating these different types of tools or creating these different types of assets is very fun and flexible. And I'll kick it to Cassidy to cover the last few tools that we'll go over as well.
Sounds good. So now we've created the graphics, we've created the content, we've optimized it. So now we're ready to publish it. So we use Webflow to do that. So Webflow is a flexible, easy to use CMS where you can build custom blogs, portfolios, e-commerce stores, etc., etc. So as you can see in the image right here, I would simply paste my piece of content in the blog. And then I would add the images, the meta descriptions, meta tags, and I would also add an FAQ if I have one for that blog. So why do I, as a marketer or as an SEO specialist, like Webflow over WordPress? For one, there's advanced SEO control. So Webflow allows for more control over SEO elements such as meta tags, headers, URL structures, and that just makes it easier for search engines to crawl the site. Next would be built-in speed and performance. So websites hosting and content delivery network are optimized for speed, which improves website performance and loading times, which is really important to Google and is crucial for SEO rankings. The next would be less plugins, meaning less technical errors. So I've worked a lot with WordPress in the past and it does the job, but there are just so many plugins that get outdated. And when I run audits on SEM Rush or on Screaming Frog, I tend to get a lot of technical errors. And I tend to have to spend a lot more time clearing those errors, and there's warnings and those warnings, and that doesn't happen with Webflow. And then the last one would be responsive design. It ensures that your website is mobile friendly and meets Google's mobile first indexing requirements. So here I would publish the piece of content, and then I would make sure I apply schema markup to the article. So websites with markup rank an average of 4 positions higher in the SERPs than those without schema markup. So schema markup is just a code in the form of structured data that communicates the meaning of the page. So you're basically putting your website in a language that search engines can actually understand. And there are several schema generators out there, but ChatGPT can do this for free and with really limited instruction. So ChatGPT can generate HTML, CSS, and other types of code. So there are several different types of schema markup, but for this context, I'm going to show you how to add schema markup for articles and then for FAQs. So you simply type into ChatGPT, generate an integrated schema code template using JSON-LD for a blog post, and then you just replace those placeholders that are shown there in the image with the actual information of your blog post. But remember to check any schema markup you create using the schema markup validator. And I have the link here and we're going to send this presentation after. It's just super easy. All you do is paste the URL in with schema markup and then check whether it's worked or not. So why would you apply schema markup, or why else would you apply schema markup? One would be enhanced search visibility. So schema can help your articles appear as those rich snippets on Google or on search engine listings. You're also going to see an improved click-through rate. There's structured data is great for voice search. So markup helps voice search platforms like Siri and like Google Assistant actually understand what your content is about and then provide accurate responses to voice queries. And then the last one would be increased authority and credibility. So by including schema markup, on your site, you're signaling to search engines that your content is well structured and it's reliable because you're putting it in a language that like Google understands. The next thing I want to show was schema markup for FAQs. So you can actually just paste this prompt into ChatGPT to create the code for you. So you would just say create schema markup for this text, and then you would add your questions and answers, and then you can go ahead and paste that in to your code. And then I would always, again, check with the validator, schema markup validator before you publish it. So now the last tool I want to show you is Inlinks. Inlinks is an entity-based semantic SEO tool. It uses a semantic analyzer and knowledge graph to deliver data for on-page and on-site optimization. So interlinking is just really important nowadays. So interlinking is when you hyperlink a word or a phrase to another page on your website to provide the reader with more information about that topic. Interlinking, again, enables search engines to just better understand the website's content and structure. So as you can see in this image that I have here, Inlinks helps you identify opportunities to create relevant internal links and external links. But right now it's only showing interlinks. But it just helps you create links within your website's content, which can improve SEO by enhancing the structure and the navigation of your site. And then it's also distributing SEO authority effectively across all of your pages. So another thing is, this is a tool that's super easy and quick to use. So you can see in this first example, we have how to use consideration stage content to encourage leads down the funnel. I would just type in my target topic and my target keyword, and then I would audit the page, and Inlinks would actually create, in this case, 7 links for me. And then Inlinks can also create and apply schema markup to your website if you don't want to use something like ChatGPT. So now we've created the content, we've optimized it, and we need to promote it. So Matt is going to touch on that.
Awesome. And I think Cassidy made a great point there of the speed and efficiency of tools like Inlinks, and that's kind of across the board for all of them as well. ChatGPT responds incredibly fast. Surfer has a little bit of load time, but generates the article incredibly quick. Inlinks does this almost instantly. And for a lot of these tools, that's kind of the name of the game. It's how fast can you work through this process, because you have other things that you're working on. So this allows you to be faster and work on multiple things at once, because at some point, some of your blog articles are going to get stuck in review. That's with customer service, sales, legal, other marketers. Somebody's going to want more eyes on it, and they'll say they'll get back to you by Friday, and they won't. And then it'll go on. So this is going to be the way that you can create multiple pieces of content that you have in the queue, so that when they are approved and ready to roll, you can start publishing, and eventually you'll get to publishing at a pretty fast frequency. The last couple of steps in the process are going to be copying and pasting this prompt, which is, hey, this is the blog article that I wrote. Can you please help me promote this on social media and to my email list? This is, I believe, it's just a very long one prompt here. But this is going to kick back to you a very optimized post that's going to have hashtags. It's going to have a great way of showcasing the article you just created so that it's easier for you to get this to social media. Now, just like before, this is only going to do part of the job. If it doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, cool, feel free to make it your own. The goal here is to get you started in the right direction and then edit. For me and for a lot of writers, it's so much easier to edit than it is to create from scratch. So whether that's the blog article, whether that's the keywords, whether that's the post here at the end, that's what it's going to essentially be doing for you, getting you started. And sometimes seeing something you don't like helps you pick out something that you do like. It's the same thing when shopping for a new outfit, just like it is writing a blog post. This is all meant to expedite that process and help you be more efficient. And the last tool that we are going to cover for today is going to be ActiveCampaign. If you have ever used or heard of HubSpot, or you think it's maybe a little bit outdated, clunky, and a little bit ugly, this is the tool you want to be using. It is one that we use and that we absolutely love. It can do the very simple stuff, like it can be your CRM and it can email out your newsletter to your entire list. That is great. But now they're adding AI onto this, and this is where it can become incredibly powerful. So the first thing it can do is you can use AI to build automations. That's going to be kind of more into the lead scoring aspect. So say, for example, you want to know who are your top contacts. And how do you want to base that? Well, let AI and let ActiveCampaign help you achieve that. Maybe you think that somebody who visits your blog 3 times in one day is a hot contact, or maybe it's 3 times in a week, 3 times in a month. Base that off of also your social media activity, your email activity. That's where you can start defining rules of, okay, well, who is close to becoming a new customer? And then decide what you want to do after that. That could notify you that you need to reach out, or the next 2 cool things that it's doing is going to be writing predictive content and sending predictive messages. So if you have, say, a database of 1,000, 10,000 leads or emails, you want to know like you want to know who's most active and what to send what content to them and when. This is going to be leveraging AI to then build these mechanisms for you. So it's going to say, as people engage with your email, as people engage with your website, we want to send them this type of message. Maybe that's a promotion. Maybe that's a blog post. It could be any number of messages that you want to send them to stay top of mind, because if they're visiting your website very regularly, that probably means that they have moved from that consideration stage to that decision stage. And now they are looking to buy. And this is where the machine can start learning from all of the data that it's helped generate. It's going to start learning and say, okay, well, now we know that if somebody visits the website, we want to send them the message within the hour or within the day, within the week. It's going to start testing these variables, and then it's going to start to learn from the performance of these tests to start becoming more improved, so that it's going to learn from itself, and it's going to start building you a better automated marketing machine, which is like the coolest thing in the world. So to recap it, and I will do my best here because there are a lot of tools, and Cassidy is more familiar with some of these than I am, but ChatGPT is a great tool to jumpstart your brainstorming process and start thinking about who you are, the value you provide, the content that you want to create. What do those pillar pages and topic clusters look like? And then Screaming Frog is going to be the first step in actually getting everything put together. That's going to help you identify gaps on your website, things that you want to solve, and really visualize the hierarchy of your site to see where everything goes. You take all of that from ChatGPT and validate it with your team and through SEM Rush, because you want to make sure that you're creating content that has a high enough search value that it's relevant for you guys. You don't want to be creating content around topics that nobody's searching for, or that are too difficult for you to achieve at this point. So validating this through SEM Rush is going to help you figure out where you should be prioritizing some of this content, and do that in Google Sheets so it's easier for your team to collaborate. This article, oh, we definitely need it, and I have 5 people that I would love to send this to as soon as it's ready. Or this is an article that doesn't make sense for our business, or at least not for this point, because it's either not relevant to our industry, or maybe we have new products coming out later in the year and we'd rather time it at that point. Miro is where you can visualize how all of this content comes together, how all of it looks and sounds is going to live in these certain families of these different content pillars. And then Surfer SEO is a great AI writing tool to help get you started, creating the topic outline, making sure that you're getting you that first draft of your blog post, and then you can edit it from there as you need to. Canva and Slides to Go are going to be great tools to help you design those assets. Webflow is our CMS of choice because we think it is just one of the best website builders out there for a number of reasons that Cassidy touched on. Inlinks is an amazing bolt-on AI tool that can help achieve so much great SEO value, from interlinking all of your sites to identifying semantic keywords and so much more. And honestly, it takes 5 minutes. It generates so much value, and it is a very cheap tool as well. And lastly, ActiveCampaign is our automation marketing software of choice. We think it is just super powerful. It is very visually and easy to understand, and leveraging AI, it can really help you build a very awesome automated marketing machine. And that is all we have for you today. I believe we saw one question come in earlier that we have addressed. And so, Steve, we will make sure that you get the copy of this presentation afterwards so that you can copy and paste all the prompts as needed. And wow, that was an awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Cassidy, and thank you to everybody who joined today. If you have any more questions, we can take those now, and we will hang out for 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 more minutes. Otherwise, feel free to log off, sign off, and have the rest of your day. Thank you guys again so much for joining, and we will see you on the next webinar.